done a lot better if we can cut it.
This is News Center 40, prepared by the reporters of Channel 40 News.
You're on. I'm Bob Keene, and here's the news. Local television film director Vince Hernandez was apprehended today in Key West after hijacking the Channel 40 production van last week. Hernandez was taken into custody by the Coast Guard while trying to drive into the Gulf of Mexico. Authorities say Hernandez blew his cover when he was asked by a Key West policeman where the bridge to Havana was. Hernandez is being held in the Key West jail awaiting his 10-day free trial. Channel 40 video engineer Stan Novak has done it. His name has been placed in the Guinness Book of World Records after building the world's largest CB radio. Novak, notorious for his fetish for metal wire and voltage regulators, says he will go by the handle of lightning rod. On the business front, WDUV Stereo FM, Bradenton, Sarasota, has announced that after a successful format change to all Polish polka music, large profit margins have enabled the station to expand its present facility to include a giant Polish disco lounge on its 5th floor. Owner and general manager Robert R. Nelson was indicted today on charges that he allegedly attempted to trade out his 1976 federal income taxes. However, the Internal Revenue Service told Nelson they could, quote, get public service announcements anytime they wanted to for free. Channel 40 newsman Fred Meade was hospitalized today after he was found unconscious on the site of the ill-fated Manatee County Library project site in Bradenton. Meade was reportedly filming a report at the library and completely unaware at the time that the project had been halted because poorly constructed library support columns. Meade was released in custody of the local structural engineers. Well, in the spirit of the holidays, Manatee County Sheriff Richard Weitzenfeld announced today that he will reinstate Deputy Bob Cratchit. Cratchit was fired by the sheriff for insubordination after he was caught taking a can of tomato soup from the squad room refrigerator. Deputy Cratchit explained he was only trying to feed his son, Tiny Tim. But Weitzenfeld reportedly told Cratchit he could take his kid's crutch and stick it in the fire, end quote. Sources say that Weitzenfeld reconsidered the Cratchit case after a visit late last night by the ghost of Christmas future, Sheriff-elect Tom Burton. Local television film director person, and I read too many stories. It's ended there. That was the...
What's all happening at WDUV's new Polish discotheque located in the newly refurbished lobby of WBRD in exciting and glamorous East Bradenton. Dance the polka and have fun nightly during the Polish Decemberfest. All the sausage you can stuff. Remember, at WDUV's new Polish discotheque, where absolutely nothing is across from us except the dump.
Now a special report from News Center 40 correspondent Fred Meade.
You know, the damnedest thing is I have to let it grow out of my nose and then plaster it down because it really doesn't work the other way. We're about ready to go. Five seconds. Good evening, I'm Ferd Mudd, no relation to Roger, and here's the news. WXLT traffic manager Jamie Angione was arraigned today on first-degree murder charges stemming from the brutal beating death of the Associated Press wire copy machine. Authorities had suspected the wire machine had overdosed on Associated Press paper, which in turn jammed the machine's life-supporting mechanisms. Ms. Angione claims the machine had been hooked on AP paper for some time, and she was only trying to give it a few soft taps as it choked to death. WBRD disc jockey Don Butterfield says he's found a new way to get high after he's given up sipping record cleaner. Butterfield says the new method of getting off causes no withdrawal symptoms other than dizzy spells and severe vomiting. Well, WBRD program director Bob Barnes announced late this week that he will not be presenting his annual Christmas tape of comedy at the station's annual Christmas party. The station management reportedly vetoed the playing of the tape after learning that Barnes had recorded 90% of the material in the women's West Womb at WBRD. I get it, White. The entire sales and production staff of WXLT television was taken into custody last evening and charged with multiple counts of lewd and lascivious conduct. The incident took place on Palm Avenue, and Sarasota Sheriff's detectives say they were not at all fooled by the group's attempt to avoid arrest by disguising themselves as Al Jolson. Well, due to today's announcement by the federal government that a beef shortage is likely in 1977, Sarasota's own Brewmaster's Restaurant has announced that it will begin serving protein-rich sea cows rather than regular cow meat. Since our area is abundant with the aquatic animal, efforts began yesterday by the staff of Brewmasters to capture its very first set of choice cuts. Here you see Bradenton's famous baby snoots being fattened up for slaughter. The precedent-setting move by the restaurant will commence tonight when baby snoots is served up at a gathering of local broadcasters and their families. Is this one really for real? This really happened? A new strain of venereal disease has spread through the facilities of WBRD Radio in Bradenton, Florida, affecting nearly 20 employees of that broadcast facility. Workers say they've experienced no ill side effects of the disease, which causes long green and white growths covering one's body. However, several of the station's own disc jockeys have reportedly began wearing rabbit costumes to work. No word yet on how the disease is spread. Well, candidates for the Mike Simmons School of Broadcasting were subjected to required haircuts today at the school. Candidates were also given their first assignment of memorizing the Simmons School Code. Close on the sides, leave a little on the top. WBRD talk show host Marlon Hager will undergo surgery tomorrow for the removal of a telephone receiver from his right ear. Hager explained that the left ear. Hager explained that the phone apparently became stuck during his call-in show, Viewpoint, when an irate senior citizen shouted obscenities into the receiver, protesting the alleged communist takeover of the Boy Scouts, the Winn-Dixie supermarket chain, and the League of Women Voters. Where the hell's that other story? Wait a minute. It's right here somewhere.
This just in. Accident-prone newsman Fred Meade fell off his news desk today. Meade is reportedly lying on the floor suffering from head injuries. Finally, in the news tonight, in this exclusive interview with WXLT Television News, President-elect Jimmy Carter today was asked if he intended to carry out any of his campaign promises to the American people.
No.
For Off-Center News, I'm Fred Meade. Where the hell's a restroom?
Wait in the car. Our special report next comes from News Center 40 reporter Gordon Galbraith.
Oh, another day, another dollar. Now remember, this part isn't going to go on the air. Okay, I just want to make that absolutely clear. Make sure you edit the tape before this part goes on the air, because you never know when some moron in switching department will let anything go out over the air. Okay, this will be News Off Center. Take one. Go. Good evening, I'm Garden Bad Breath, and here's the news. General Telephone head troubleshooter Dennis Cooper revealed today why General Telephone has been experiencing so many service problems lately. It seems the company's microwave facilities have been attacked by unknown beings, causing extra difficulty in dialing, garbled Associated Press copy, and continuous reruns of the Donnie and Marie show on Channel 40, which nobody can pick up anyway. Cooper said new Gentel lineman G. Zilla should have the lines cleared shortly. Oh. Advocates of sending Manatee County's female prisoners to Sarasota County launched a new attack today against Manatee Sheriff Richard Weisenfeld. Inmate Sheila Gooch is shown here in an exclusive News Center photo just after Sheriff Weisenfeld allegedly performed a gotcha in the woman's cell. Ms. Glotch said Weisenfeld was dressed in a blue bunny suit at the time of the alleged assault. Sarasota police arrested a 72-year-old Vamo man this week after he staged a bullfight along Main Street. Howard Schmidlap was cited under a 1902 law forbidding red capes on public streets. Schmidlap is currently appealing his execution conviction before the Utah Supreme Court. Sarasota County Sheriff Jim Hardcastle today revealed new outfits for his men who will be doing undercover work for the department as detectives. Here, top detectives Leroy Suggins and Jethro McCoy clown around with the live weapons provided for the two. Said Hardcastle, "We want these men to be able to blend in with suspects on the street." Hardcastle didn't say which street. Meanwhile, Manatee detectives have been giving hand-to-hand combat lessons to Sarasota's new recruit under the watchful eye of Sheriff Richard Weisenfeld. Here, Elwood Higgins gives derelict Mike Wild a showing of the department's new tactics. Channel 40 is proud to announce its newest switching crew, taken off Pineapple Avenue during the latest demotion exercises at the local chapter of REI. The 7 dynamic young men shown here will be responsible for keeping the PTL club from breaking up, along with a full slate of other duties that will include video editing, spot production, and a full shift of cleaning the sinks. Missing Channel 40 newsman Bob Peterson was spotted today in a remote area of East Sarasota following the latest full moon. Peterson, who left Channel 40 on an extended assignment on bad checks, was seen hollering, "10-4, call the SWAT team," and "process my film." Peterson is expected to make his grand re-entry into life as a Regency scanner. Channel 40's latest telethon has raised $6.32 for the International Order of Crazed Dwarfs. Auctioneer Shembley Nimwitz is shown here on Channel 40 taking bids for a unique coffee table cleverly fashioned into a woman's face. The telethon ran 5 hours, but everyone said it seemed shorter. In keeping with new FCC requirements for diversified programming, Channel 40 will begin carrying the Ronnie Rhino Hour Sunday mornings at 4 a.m. Ronnie sings, dances, and throws up milk given to him by the Lennon sisters. Ronnie's show satisfies Channel 40's FCC requirements for meaningful animal programming and a half-hour series featuring a horned quadruped in a starring role. Ronnie is still seeking co-stars since he ate 3 of the Lennon sisters shortly after this picture was taken. Channel 40 employees have been treated to a new swimming pool erected behind the Lawton Drive studios of TV 40. Company employees enjoy a number of games at poolside, including Dunk the Switcher, Drown the Salesman, and Clean the Septic Tank, played after each swimming session. And finally in the news tonight, little Louis Diddley of Sarasota grimaces after being struck by a car driven by Fred Meade of Bradenton. Little Louis said he was chasing a ball across the street when a brown Peugeot wagon driven by Meade struck him at speeds estimated around 60 miles an hour. The 12-year-old youth suffered a chipped tooth, scraped cheek, and a sore rear. The Peugeot was listed as a total loss. Meade is recuperating in the intensive care unit of Exotica Motors. Young Diddley indicated he will sue Meade for defamation of character and for not showing his good side of the news. Back to you, Bob, after this word from the friendly funeral home. You stab 'em, we slab 'em.
For the ultimate in dining pleasure, visit the Sandbox, newly redecorated and landscaped. Ample parking for banquets. The gourmet selection will titillate your taste buds. You'll be thrilled at the prices, too. Air-conditioned for your comfort. The Sandbox on US 41 in beautiful Osprey is a culinary delight.
Okay, Wendy, but if my wife finds out, I'll tell you. Oh, and now it's time for the weather with Wendy Ross. Well, Wendy, what's on the old weather map today?
Well, Bob, we have a large mass of numbers over the northwest today. We've got an 87 and a 61 and an 80 over here, and also we've got a large piece of black tape which stretches all over the northeast section.
Wendy, no, what I mean is, what's the weather going to be like?
Oh, the weather. Oh, well, we have several large chunks of sky which have reportedly fallen on Boise and Girlsy, Idaho, killing several hundred residents. However, each chunk did appear to be sunny and mild and continued clear through tomorrow. As for the rest of the sky, there will be scattered thunder frogs with intermittent tornadoes, and it's just been reported that 5 inches of ice cream have fallen just outside Miami, where crowds have begun spreading chocolate sauce and crushed nuts to make the roads passable, which turns us on now to the local scene. Well, we have some good news and some bad news for the surfers.
Wendy, what's the good news?
Well, the good news is, due to some early morning tidal waves, the surf will definitely be up along the Gulf beaches.
Well, what's the bad news?
The bad news is, the Gulf beaches are now downtown. There's a hail of a storm trooping in from the vitamin C near the Gulf of Oil spill, wreaking havoc on the self-service island and other communities in the area. The Coast Guard has reported that there are small rubber duck warnings in effect. Local temperatures will be 62, 54, 23, 16, and 22 and 3 throughout the day. That's the weather. And
Wendy's fashion stolen exclusively from Beth Oswald.
Neil, it is Peter McNeil, isn't it? Bob, it is Peter McNeil, isn't it?
Good evening. I'm Peter McTeague, or as known to some of us, Peter McNeil, with a look at the play on Ball Street. Sock and bra prices were up in a flurry of pre-holiday activity, and the closing Dow Jones averages were, well, really now, who cares? Activity in the back room of the New York Stock Exchange was very active, with 25 million pairs changing feet. In the bra market, things were sagging as support becomes less and less evident, and in many cases has disappeared completely. Conditions in the money markets are tight, as are most stock and bond brokers on Ball Street, as they have been in training for New Year's Eve since last Easter. In summary, Ball Street observers are once again anticipating the annual arrival of that fat little man in red, who will litter the streets of lower Manhattan with bits of coal, and I'm sure his pets will litter those same streets with bits of, well, in any case, do have a very Merry Christmas, and stay with us now as Off Center 40 continues assuming we can get Ron sobered up in time. Good night.
Ja, sure. Sven Strudel here for Matthews Curry Fjord. This weekend, Matthews Curry Fjord is having a big sale right across the fjords. Used and new. Oh, you bet. President Jerry Fjord bought one, and President-elect Jimmy Farter said his runs on peanuts. You bet. Remember, this weekend, Matthews Curry Fjord. Boy, we got lots of stuff for you. You bet. It's a real smorgasbord at Matthews Curry Fjord in the Comus, Norway. You bet.
Now, elsewhere in the news, this item just in. Bob, your fly is open. Now it's time for a look at the sports with Ron Jackson. And, well, Ron, I guess there's a big trade in baseball today, huh?
Oh, a very big trade today, Bob, and I'm very anxious to tell the people all about
Well, I
that.
can see why, really. Not everybody has a player like Tony Perez getting traded.
Yeah, Tony Perez. The Cincinnati Reds traded Tony Perez.
Right, Tony Perez.
Yeah,
Right.
but they did get a couple of great pitchers, and I want to tell you about that.
Yeah, Woody Fryman and Dale Murray, right? Woody Fryman and...
Christ, do you want to read it?
No, Ron, that's good. Read it.
You always do this. Every time I get something good, you want to read it.
Picky.
I've had it.
Picky.
Sorry, folks. I do have some other sports tonight, though, that you might find of interest. TV40 today announced that it would field a team in the Sarasota County Flag Football League next season. The station's president and general manager, Robert R. Nelson, will also serve as the general manager of the football team, which will be known as the TV40 Troglodytes. Since a troglodyte is a caveman, many people were confused when Nelson unveiled an expensive new helmet logo which closely resembled a rat. Well, Nelson quickly cleared up the confusion by explaining that the rat was a 40, not a caveman. Nelson said his first priority as general manager would be to find a top-notch coach. He said he wanted a man who was a great leader, a brilliant strategist, and an organizational genius. He indicated he was seriously considering himself for the position. Nelson did announce the selection of 2 assistant coaches, TV40 anchorman Bob Keene, and from sister station WBRD, program director Bob Barnes. Keene will be in charge of the physical fitness training for the team. After looking at the squad for the first time, Keene declared, "These guys are in terrible shape. I can't stand all that wheezing and hacking after just a few short wind sprints." To combat the problem, Keene is having cough buttons installed in the players' helmets. Well, Barnes will be the team's disciplinarian after catching one player, linebacker Scott Wilson, smoking a strange substance in the huddle today. Barnes offered Wilson a choice of running 100 laps or listening to WBRD's Your Kind of Country format for 15 minutes. At airtime, Wilson reportedly had 36 laps to go. Barnes also might have trouble with white Muslim Kareem Abdul-Thomas. Thomas is a member of the separatist religious group, the Control Room Muslims. Thomas says that, contrary to popular belief, Control Room Muslims do not hate news people. They just think reporters would be happier staying in the newsroom with their own kind. After a grueling practice session at the Crown Lounge today, the Troglodytes posed for a team picture. As you can probably tell from this photo, it was 48 cent night at the Crown. Looking over the roster, Nelson feels no other team in the league has an offensive unit that compares with the Trogs. Indeed, many fans watching the practice said it was the most offensive team they've ever seen. Among the standouts on the team are Black Almanac host Ed James, who plays right guard, right tackle, and right end, all at the same time. There's also middle linebacker Ted Elliston, the defensive captain. During a practice scrimmage with the Hunter Music team earlier this week, Elliston broke through the line and mauled the Hunter Music quarterback, Karen, the con organ girl. Elliston was whistled for holding 6 times, all on that play. Of course, if the TV40 Troglodytes are to be a success, they'll need more than just top playing talent. And that's why Nelson has put together a top-notch front office staff, citing the team's need to present an image of professionalism and good taste. Nelson said the team's director of advertising and marketing will be Ralph Wolfer. Wolfer's tasteful used car ads are legendary in the business. Ralph will get an able assist from the team's public relations director, Sally Quinn. Also not to be overlooked is the director of ticket sales, Jamie Angione. Jamie plans to spur season ticket sales by scheduling a saturation spot campaign on the PTL Club and the national anthem. Stan Novak will be the equipment manager, planning a 50,000-volt shot to the opposing linemen. Dan was rehired as chief of stadium security to make sure no team equipment turns up missing. Also, Lynn Rickard was placed in charge of procuring cheerleaders, and WBRD's Don Butterfield was named witch doctor. TV40 will open its season next September against the South Trail Fire Department and their elusive running back, Bob Peterson. That's what's happening in sports tonight. For Off Center, I'm Lon Jackson. Good night.
Well, finally in the news tonight, in downtown Sarasota today, a lovely young lady was found strolling nude down Main Street. Suddenly, entire Notre Dame football team. Well, that's Off Center 40 for tonight. For Ron Jackson, Peter McTeague, and Wendy Ross, I'm Bob Keene. Good night.
This is News Center 40, prepared by the reporters of Channel 40 News.
Hey, what the hell's with this camera guy? He won't turn the camera off. I gotta leave the turn off.